Rock and roll was born in the States, but it was perfected in Britain. Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 greatest British rock bands. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we take a look at those British rock bands that helped define and change the genre from the 60s to this day.
Way on down south, way on down south, London town.
Number 10, The Kinks. One of the greatest bands of their age, the Kinks are to be credited with influencing pretty much everything that came after them, and even a few of their contemporaries. Pete Townshend of The Who, a band that rose to prominence around the same time as the Kinks, claims that Ray Davies' work has been a major influence from the very beginning, while others credit the Kinks with pioneering the rock concept album.
Girl, you really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing now.
They took part in the musical British invasion of the United States, but soon were banned from performing due to the Davies brothers' constant fighting.
Millions of people swarming like flies round Waterloo Underground.
Number 9, Radiohead.
When I am king, you will be faster.
Widely regarded by both critics and the public as one of the finest bands of the 90s and 2000s, Radiohead have recorded a number of landmark albums and tracks, and show no sign of stopping. Years after their debut, Radiohead can still lay claim to the title as one of the most important alternative rock bands in the world.
But I'm a creep. I'm a winner.
Shooting to fame in 1992 thanks to Creep, the debut single from their first album Pablo Honey, the band has proved time and again to have many more aces up their sleeves, from OK Computer to their latest releases.
Beyond the point of no return. You can't be no one now.
Number 8, Oasis.
I know a girl called Elsa. She's into Alka-Seltzer. She sniffs it through a cane on a supersonic train.
One of the leading champions of Britpop, Oasis were an extremely successful band in the 90s, poised by some, although largely the band themselves, to be rivals and successors to the Beatles. It wasn't all talk either. Their first album, Definitely Maybe, became the fastest selling debut album in the UK, and is often said to be the greatest achievement of Britpop, while What's the Story Morning Glory and its roster of singles were a phenomenon worldwide. The notorious infighting between brothers Noel and Liam Gallagher ultimately ended the band, but not their popularity, which endures to this day. Number 7, Deep Purple. Among the pioneers of hard rock and heavy metal, and one-third of the unholy trinity that also included Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, Deep Purple are one of the greatest rock acts in history. Their signature Smoke on the Water is a regular contender as the first song everybody learns to play a guitar, and if that doesn't say something about their impact on music worldwide, we don't know what else will. They achieved widespread success with their 1970 album Deep Purple in Rock, but subsequently went through numerous lineup changes since.
Nobody gonna take my girl, I'm gonna keep her to the end. From Soho down to Brighton,
Number 6, The Who.
I ain't seen nothing like him in any amusement hall.
The originators of the rock opera and one of the most revered live acts in rock and roll history, The Who have been one of the most beloved bands to come out of Britain in the 20th century.
Trying to cause a big sensation of my generation.
From the face of the mod movement to guitar and drum destroying synth dabbling hard rockers, The Who set out to create something grand from the get-go, and they very often succeeded. One of the tightest rock quartets anybody had ever heard, many of their classic songs are still played today. Number 5, Pink Floyd.
Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone.
Popularity and genius don't always go hand in hand, but Pink Floyd are one of the most highly acclaimed bands in music history, while also being among the genre's most successful. The band was at the forefront of the psychedelic scene, and later of progressive rock, bringing in and popularising innovations in musical composition, tackling complex lyrical themes and offering theatrical live performances.
I'm in a high fidelity first class traveling section. I think I need a legit.
Both with Syd Barrett as frontman and later with the legendary Waters-Gilmour partnership, Floyd recorded a number of amazing albums, The Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall ranking among the best-selling albums of all time. Number 4, Queen. Featuring one of the greatest voices in rock and roll, or any other genre of popular music, Queen are a mainstay of every best bands list, British or otherwise. With a career spanning decades and genres, their popularity and success is certainly well deserved. Founded in 1970 by Brian May and Roger Taylor, with Freddie Mercury suggesting the name and John Deacon being drafted into the fold, Queen achieved massive international fame with the release of Sheer Heart Attack and A Night at the Opera, and by the early 80s, were the biggest arena rock band in the world.
Nothing really matters to me.
Number 3, The Rolling Stones. The original bad boys of rock and roll, the Rolling Stones were as influential as the Beatles, and continue to be one of the most revered bands in the history of music. Inspired by blues and early rock and roll, in the early 60s they become an icon of the countercultural revolution, and were at the forefront of the musical invasion of the United States, while their albums from the late 60s to the early 70s are considered among the best rock records ever produced, and the band's own golden age. Number 2, Led Zeppelin. They're one of the greatest bands to ever grace a stage, and laid the foundations of much of the heavy music that came after them. Without them, hard rock and metal as we know them wouldn't even exist. But Led Zeppelin's influence spreads to all modern music, and even to music business and the way music is made. Their distaste for singles meant they conceived all their output as albums, and their live shows helped develop arena rock, while making them the second best-selling band in the US, behind the Beatles.
Your head is humming out, it won't go, in case you don't know. The piper's calling you to join him.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. Number 1, The Beatles. The long and the short of it is popular music can be easily divided into two periods, before and after the Beatles. And once they came, especially from the moment they started experimenting with more complex musical compositions in albums like Revolver, things were never the same. From clean-cut pop band that would have teenage girls scream every time they stepped on stage, to the mind-expanding, genre-bending, envelope-pushing band that abruptly stopped touring and completely overhauled their mop-topped image, John, Paul, George and Ringo did it all, and did it first.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Fields.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.